Okay, so this is breaking news. A couple of hours ago, we found out that Michael Waltz will no longer be Donald Trump's national security advisor. I know some of you are thinking, well, good, get rid of him. But there's more to the story. He's actually one of the better people within the Trump circle. And so let's see what the Fox News had to say, and then we'll move on and talk about who's possible to replace him and things along those lines. All right, here's Fox News.
News that happened in the commercial break. So what you're looking at photographs right now of Michael Waltz. He is the president's national security advisor, except for we just got news that he is going to be leaving the administration along with his deputy, Alex Wong. Of course, if you might remember the story of Signalgate. I don't know if that's for a particular reason, but there was some consternation among some people about Mike Waltz, who you might remember was a congressman, Green Beret, a long history and career in foreign policy. And I believe
Okay, so Mike Waltz, while he was a congressman, said the right things about Ukraine largely. He was mostly supportive of Ukraine. He's too, I think, militaristic or militant for the Trump administration. And here we see that CBS News said that both Waltz and his assistant were not stepping down voluntarily. They're instead being fired by President Trump, in addition to other senior administration officials who are also expected to be removed. The statement that's soon to come from the White House. So he didn't go willingly. However, he's not quite out. Now, he's not in the inner circle, but he's still useful to the Trump administration, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Okay, Trump's national security advisors in his first term, Michael Flynn was only there for 24 days, and then he was indicted and pled guilty to talking to the Russians, if you remember that. Keith Kellogg was the acting guy, stepping into the breach for just a short period of time until General McMaster was put in place. General McMaster had his head screwed on right. He did a pretty good job. Then John Bolton was there for another year and 54 days, and he turned into a ardent critic of President Trump. You had another acting director, and then O'Brien for another year. Okay, so Waltz lasted 101 days. In that time, he had a spotty record. I mean, I was very enthusiastic about Waltz, especially when you go from Jake Sullivan. I was enthusiastic about him, but he just didn't live up to it. It's kind of like Marco Rubio, just didn't seem to live up to that. The memes are already out. I found out about Mike Waltz firing, just like everybody else did, through an unsolicited message from Mike Waltz. And hey, I just wanted you to know I got fired. Who's this? Mike Waltz, Donald Trump's national security advisor. Well, former. As I said, I was fired. How'd you get this number? Hang on, just gonna get some more people into this chat. Wait, what? Okay, so yeah, that goes back to Signalgate and what was happening there. Now, what happened there when he invited that journalist in unsolicited, that should have been a firing offense in and of itself. And had they done that then, it would have sent a pretty clear message. And I have no issue with Mike Waltz. I'm not trying to like beat up on the guy or anything, but that should have been a firing offense. I mean, if that happened to somebody lower level, this would have been something where they could have gotten a great deal of trouble. Okay, Politico is reporting. Now, this is the problem. Witkoff is the lead candidate to replace Waltz. Witkoff, the real estate developer, to become the national security advisor. Now, that's what they're saying. I talked to Greg Terry this morning. He said that's what the Russian newspapers are saying as well. If that's how this pans out, then Qatar will have an overwhelming influence in the administration. Here's the Politico article. Trump plans to oust national security advisor Mike Waltz. It's unclear who would step in to lead the influential White House National Security Council if Waltz is removed. Currently, a leading pick is Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who's shepherding negotiations with Russia. He's also involved in Iran and Hamas and Gaza and whatever else. It doesn't look like that's actually going to happen. Just some commentary. This is very, very bad. The replacement for Mike Waltz is almost certain to be worse. I think that commentary is spot on. I think whoever is going to come in after Waltz, look, Waltz was a Green Beret, served admirably in Congress. While he was in Congress, he seemed to say a lot of the right things in support of Ukraine and understands, like, Russia's the bad guy. As much as he might not have fully supported it, whoever follows may very well be worse. This is the Times of Israel reporting on it. And they had something to say here that I thought was really instructive as well. White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz said, forced out. Sources say Waltz, who was blamed after the reporter was mistakenly added to group chat with Yemen attack plans, is seen as ineffective. Okay, so the first thing is he did add them to the group chat, so he is to blame squarely. Now, should Hegseth have known better and not used Signal? Yes, but Waltz was actually the guy that added them. But this is the problem. He's seen as ineffective and too hawkish for the Trump administration. That's the problem here. Too hawkish for the Trump administration. Politico reported that Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff, who has spearheaded the U.S. role in to end the wars in Gaza and Ukraine and has led negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program, is being considered to replace outgoing national security advisor. That would be absolutely, absolutely terrible. Okay. Now, this is a CNN reporter, a White House reporter from CNN, saying that Steve Witkoff has told people close to him that he does not want the job. So that's a good thing, but that doesn't mean that he won't be offered it, and that they don't anticipate that he'll ultimately be selected or asked by the President of the United States as Waltz's replacement. Sources close to Witkoff tell her. So that's a positive thing. Witkoff has no business doing diplomacy as a real estate developer, let alone leading national security efforts. A former congressman, former Green Beret kind of makes sense. Okay, next, this is RT showing us Donald Trump's Truth Social post here. Trump confirms Waltz is out, but not gone. He's nominated to be the new UN ambassador, Rubio taking up national security advisor post in the interim. They really shouldn't be doubling that up, but okay. This is Trump saying, I'm pleased to announce that I will be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next United States ambassador to the United Nations. From his time in uniform on the battlefield in Congress and as national security advisor, Mike Waltz has worked hard to put our nation's interest first. I know he'll do the same in his new role. In the interim, Secretary of State Rubio will serve as national security advisor, while continuing a strong leadership at the State Department. Together, we will continue to fight tirelessly to make America and the world safe again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. I think it's kind of a bad idea to double up Rubio. He's already got other things going on, but that's secondary. Waltz going to the United States ambassador, okay, you really screwed up with Signalgate, but maybe he can potentially be somewhat useful there. It's not the inner circle; it's like a layer out, so it's kind of demotion. But okay, Fetterman. This is a senator from Pennsylvania. His name is John Fetterman. I'm trying to remember what his first name is. Fetterman. He wears a hoodie all the time. He's like the only guy running around in Congress dressed like that. But here's what he had to say about it when he was asked about it.
Waltz stepping down.
That's just brand new. I didn't have any strong feelings on that. But he probably is not going to use Signal anymore.
He's probably not going to be using Signal anymore. Yeah, I mean, that was a bad move and shouldn't have happened. Waltz last 9.2 Scaramucci's. Well, if you don't know what Scaramucci, this guy here was Trump's communications director for all about a week, maybe a little bit more or less than a week, and he was fired in record time. So he lasted 9.2 Scaramucci's. And the Reagan caucus posted this. Unfortunately, Hegseth's replacement would be far worse. He and Waltz have the most conventional foreign policy views in the Trump cabinet. And so I kind of hate to see him go, because I was glad to see him come when it was Jake Sullivan. But I almost miss Jake Sullivan. It's weird. Like, he was slow walking aide, and he was kind of bad in that regard. But what the Trump administration has done has not really been any improvement. All right. So we don't know who it'll be. It doesn't look like it'll be Witkoff from confirmed statements, but you never know with Trump. All right. Put your comments below. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares. And I really do appreciate that you are willing to listen to me all the way to the end of this. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.